And good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. I hope you know that by now. All right. By the way, I've just got to thank you to all of the very faithful viewers of my channel. And by the way, I'm hearing from new people on almost a daily basis. Now, are my videos going viral? 10, 15, 20,000 views? No, unfortunately not. By the way, that's up to you. Okay? That's up to you, my faithful viewers, to reach out and to share, to encourage people to come and to watch my videos. Now, this is I'm filming this on Sunday morning, right? But this is viewed and aired on Wednesday morning. On Sunday morning, I got a couple of different emails from people who told me, I just now discovered your channel. And I've been watching a bunch of them, and it's just blowing my mind. And it's such an exciting journey, et cetera, things like that. And by the way, I've reached over 7,000 subscribers. And again, I know that's not viral, but I got to tell you, I never envisioned a time, as a young man, that I would have a quote congregation of 7,000 people. That's pretty good. Okay. By my standards, that's pretty good. So listen, folks, be sure, especially those of you who view the videos on Facebook, please be sure to like the video. Be sure to hit that like button and be sure to share my videos with your list of contacts. You know, it would be astoundingly wonderful if we could reach the level of getting 5,000 views per video, 7,000, 10,000, and we can dream beyond that. But again, that's up to you. That's up to you to hit that like button and hit that share button. So I hope you'll do that. All right. Now then, back to Daniel chapter 12, connecting the dots. Daniel 12, Matthew 13, Matthew 25, Revelation chapter 11. Now, I've spent time on Revelation chapter 11 because I got to tell you, I believe that Revelation chapter 11 is the crucial, the almost as it were the crux interpretum of the book of Revelation. I believe that it ties together what has gone before, and it ties to get that together with what comes after it, as we will demonstrate when we come to Revelation chapter 20, and connect the dots between Revelation 10 and 11 and Revelation chapter 20, 10 and following. Those connections are incredibly powerful. So that's the reason I'm spending more time on Revelation chapter 11. Yesterday, we saw that at the sounding of the seventh trumpet, number one, the mystery of God foretold by the prophets would be fulfilled, Revelation chapter 10, verse 6 and 7. Well, the sounding of the seventh trumpet is the time of the resurrection, 1 Corinthians 15, the sounding of the last trumpet. By the way, I know that dispensationalists try to draw a distinction between 1 Corinthians 15, the last trumpet, and Revelation chapter 11, the seventh trumpet, but it's not a tenable argument. It's simply, it fails. There's no justification for it. It's one of those missing word hermeneutical approaches to the text that, again, is quite specious. So anyway, we've connected the dots. Revelation chapter 11, yesterday. Revelation chapter 11, sounding the seventh trumpet. The time of the dead that they should be judged. And the nations were angry because your great wrath has come. That's the day of God's vengeance. I shared with you yesterday. The great day of God's vengeance is the time of the vindication of the martyrs. Revelation 6, it's the vindication, and this is where we're at today. It's not only the day of God's wrath, but it's the time to reward your servants, the prophets, and the saints. Oh, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Daniel chapter 12. Daniel was told twice in Daniel chapter 12, Daniel, seal the book because it's a long time off. By the way, from Daniel to Revelation, let's just round it off into round figures. Now, I take the early dating of the book of Daniel. I do not find any justification. I know what the arguments are for the writing of the book of Daniel in the time of Antiochus Epiphanes. I do not accept that argumentation at all. I believe that those arguments are, for the most part, not by everyone by any means, but for the most part, they're based upon the arguments first introduced by an infidel by the name of Porphyry in the first century. Or was that the second century? Anyway, point of fact is, he was an anti-Christian arguer. He hated Christianity. And he knew that they relied upon Daniel to prove that Jesus is Messiah, to prove, guess what? That Daniel foretold the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. So he set out to prove that the book of Daniel was not messianic. It didn't foretell Jesus in any way. And a whole lot of modern scholars who reject the concept of prophecy, of genuine, inspired, plenary inspiration, prophetic inspiration, they've adopted that view. Why? Well, they don't believe that Daniel, if he wrote 500 years before Jesus, could have foretold Jesus. He couldn't have foretold the fall of Jerusalem. He couldn't have foretold the establishment of the kingdom in the days of the Roman Empire. Couldn't have foretold a man of sin to appear in the first century. That's why Daniel is rejected as a prophetic book written by a prophet named Daniel, writing after the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BC. So once again, I reject that. But Daniel was told, the reason I brought this up is that Daniel was told, Daniel, seal up the book because it's, the vision of this book is for many days to come. Okay, for all of those who tell us that God can't tell time, and yet God says to Daniel, Daniel, seal up the book because the fulfillment is a long time off. And here's John being told, pardon me, John being told that in the days of the sounding of the seventh trumpet, Daniel, one of the prophets who were told this resurrection at the time of the end would be fulfilled. Remember, sounding the seventh trumpet, the mystery of God foretold by the prophets to be fulfilled. Sounding the seventh trumpet, now watch this. Daniel, seal up the words of this vision, for it shall be for the time of the end, the time of the consummation, the Kairu Suntalia. You shall rest with your fathers until that appointed time of the end, Daniel was told, when you shall arise to your inheritance. Daniel would arise. That's resurrection, right? However you want to define it. Daniel would arise to his inheritance. Well, what is his inheritance? If it's the resurrection, it's eternal life. Daniel chapter 12, verse 2. So here is Daniel chapter 12 foretelling the time of the resurrection. At the time of the end, when the prophets would be rewarded with eternal life. Not just the prophets, but the prophets and the saints. Here is Revelation chapter 11 foretelling the resurrection at the sounding of the seventh trumpet, at the time for the resurrection, at the time of the rewarding of the prophets. Do you realize, ladies and gentlemen, and this is really quite stunning. Doug Wilson, in his book entitled When the Man Comes Around, comes to Revelation chapter 11. And he says, in the sounding of the seventh trumpet, this heralds the end of the old covenant age. At the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. But do you know what Doug Wilson completely, totally failed? We might even say refused to say a single word about? I've got the book. It's laying on my desk in there. He said, once again, Revelation 11, 15 and following, sounding the seventh trumpet, it heralds the end of the old covenant age which arrived in AD 70. He says not one single word about the fact that at the sounding of the seventh trumpet, it's the time of the dead that they should be judged. Not one word about the great day of God's wrath. Not one word about the time of the judging of the prophets and the saints. Not one word about entrance into the everlasting kingdom. Anybody see a train coming? It's little wonder that Doug Wilson doesn't want to discuss Daniel chapter 12, because it's really easy to see, unless you're blinded by the creeds, or tradition, or history. It's real easy to see that Daniel chapter 12 and Revelation chapter 11 are directly parallel. Now watch this. I have already pointed out several times. Daniel chapter 12, one angel asked another, when shall these things be? What shall be the end of all these wonders, or of these wonders? The other angel raises his right hand and left hand to heaven and swore by him who lives forever and ever. And it shall be for a time, times, and a half time. And when the power of the holy people has been completely shattered, all of these things. That means the great tribulation, the resurrection, the time of the end, when the righteous would shine forth in the kingdom. That means that all of those things would be fulfilled when the power of the holy people is completely shattered. Now, I had some people the other day claiming, and trying to refute me, by the way, in claiming, well, Israel was not completely destroyed. Daniel 12 doesn't say that Israel would be destroyed. It says her power would be destroyed. The word power there is taken from the Hebrew word translated as hand, because you know your hand is your power. What was Israel's only power, ladies and gentlemen? Well, according to Deuteronomy chapter 7, it wasn't their great might. That is to say, it wasn't their military power, and it wasn't their numbers. It was God's love for them. It was his covenant relationship with them. Thus, when God's covenant relationship with Israel was terminated, the resurrection, the end of the age, would take place. Well, that can't be the cross, as many claim, because the resurrection didn't take place at the cross. The end of the age did not take place at the cross. The Great Tribulation didn't take place at the cross. Okay, Daniel chapter 12. Resurrection, judgment, rewarding. The rewarding of the prophets at the time when the power of the holy people be completely shattered. Revelation chapter 11. At the sounding of the seventh trumpet, the mystery of God foretold by the prophets, that includes Daniel, would be fulfilled. The time of the dead that they should be judged, the day of God's wrath would come. The time to reward the prophets and the saints would come. When would this be, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, it would be at the time directly connected to the time when the city, Babylon, was destroyed. Who is this Babylon? It is the city where the Lord was crucified. Folks, dot, 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 dot. The connections are there. They are firm. I think they're absolutely irrefutable. And that means Matthew 25:31 and following. Time of the dead that they should be judged. The time of the rewarding of the prophets and saints. Matthew 25, enter into the kingdom, etc. Occurred when the power of the holy people was completely shattered. At the time of the judgment of the city where the Lord was crucified. You see the dots? I think you can. Hey, thanks for joining me for this morning's morning musings. Don't forget, tomorrow we've got more. Friday, we will continue our discussion of Steve Gregg's book. And again, don't forget, get yourself a copy before July runs out. Save yourself over $6. I think it's close to $7. Save yourself that money by ordering my brand new book, These Are the Days When All Things Must Be Fulfilled. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, bibleprophecy.com. Click on the banner. You will be really glad. You'll be amazed at the evidence that's in this book. I'll see you on the flip side.